that famous football saying goes, can Blackburn Rovers do it on a cold, miserable day in Stoke? Well, no, we bloody can't. Review this time, picking apart Blackburn Rovers' latest match up against Stoke at the Britannia, aka the Bet365 Stadium. We'll get to that in just one sec. If you're new to the channel, smash your subscribe button. Keep bang out today with all things Blackburn Rovers latest, Championship related. Whoa, football related. We're gonna do here, boys. Under one rooski, that's right, boys and girls. As Rovers head into the Christmas period, Christmas Day, into Boxing Day on the back of another defeat. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I want a big shout out, of course, to the patrons. And breaking bloody news, we've actually hit 23 patrons at the moment. Tom Stainer, the latest member of the Patreon gang, so give him a round of applause. He makes us 23 patrons right now, just 2 more to get to the goal, which was 25 to get to the end of the calendar year. Can we do it? Can you be the latest member of the gang? Could you be number 24? Well, if you're interested, check out the links down below, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and patreon.com/Roverseeds. They're all in there. You can go on the latest brother or another one, and you can also make my bloody 2020 by getting in there and becoming the latest member of the gang. So let's get into it, of course. Take a little look at, of course, the stats and figures in that, shall we, of course, with Rovers losing to Stoke, and of course that familiar shitbag Nick bloody Powell on the 6th minute just took him 1 shot on target today, 3 shots total. Of course, 1 went in the back of the net. It was, of course, a Nick Powell header, nice and early to give the hosts an early lead. You know, to be fair, they played okay at the first few minutes. They seemed to be composed and know what they were talking about. They got that goal, and guess what? They parked that bloody bus, yes, in bloody deed. So yeah, unfortunately for Rovers, we couldn't break that deadlock. We couldn't break him down despite having 15 shots today. Of course, we do that. We like to we like to have a few shots, but ultimately just 15 shots, or should I say a good 15 shots, but only 3 on target. That's the deciding factor. And Rovers, of course, dominated the play, but that's just what Stoke wanted to do. Of course, they were well drilled. Nice defensive unit. Of course, 11 men behind the ball all the way time. And of course, they kept themselves a clean sheet. Of course, young goalkeeper between sticks as well. We'll talk about them in a minute. But yeah, Stoke doing it the hard way, doing it in the not pretty way. Get the 3 points and continue to move up the table as others around them fall, like us, and of course Reading and who else around them may have failed. Watford as well. So them do themselves a massive boost there by improving their chances of getting into them top 6 on a permanent bloody deal. So yeah, of course, take a look at some stats and the figures down there. Of course, Nick Powell with their 1-0 goal, 15 shots for Rovers, 3 for Stoke, 1 on target in the back of the net, of course, 3 on target for Rovers. So we had 69% possession compared to their 31. We had an 85% success rate with our passing, 65% success rate with Stoke, 9 fouls apiece, 6 corners for Rovers, but ultimately we are shit at those. Take a look at the stun lineups in a minute, but let's take a look at some more passes and figures here. Aerial duels 1, I think Stoke nicked it 15 to our 14. Tackles is 121 to our 6. Not very good ultimately for Rovers. Here come those starting 11s now for you. Bursic, youngster between sticks. Again, I think he's had 5 or 6 clean sheets now out of 8 or 9 games. He's keeping the place clean. But what, you know how he's doing that? He's got a lot of teamwork. That's what's going on with 10 other players helping him out, doing what they do. They got the goal, set back, doing defence, make sure Rovers couldn't break through, and we couldn't. Fox at left back, Suter at centre back alongside Chester, and young Collins at right back. We had Powell alongside Cousins, I believe. Timon as well in the sort of attacking midfield spot with Brown and Ince. And of course Fletcher up top, I believe. I don't know if he was there, to be honest with you, because he was never up there to see it. Ince was a little bit of a handful, but realistically Powell got that goal and done and dug his heels in and made sure Stoke came around with the 3 points. As for Rovers' starting line, Kaminsky was between 6. Douglas did get the nod at left back. Lenihan Johnson was at centre back. I thought he did okay. Naby at right back, of course, no questions asked there. Then it was Tribal, Holtby and Rothwell in midfield. Elliott, Gallagher and Armstrong up top. It's probably pretty much close to be, well, it is probably the strongest team we can do at the moment, and playing Bradley Johnson at centre back just shows the situation we have at the back. Of course, no Del Boy for whatever reason, no Ayala for whatever reason. Wharton's out for a considerable period. We need centre-backs, Mowbray. We need bloody centre-backs. Can you find it in your magic to get centre-backs? To be honest with you, all I really want for Christmas is a couple of new contracts. I'm looking at Nyambe. I'm looking at Joe Rothwell. I'm looking at maybe Adam Armstrong as well, and get them signed, sealed, and delivered for another couple of seasons, because right now it's a little bit worrying. As I've said last time around, with the contract situation with some of our key players, they could walk away for pretty much nothing next season, or the end of the season actually, and then we'll be left not only with a skeleton squad, but also losing a shit ton of assets going out the door. Let's take a look at my match ratings. And Shavit Kaminsky had a 6. I'm not going to knock him for the goal. I guess it was on the defender's fault, to be honest with you. It was a good cross by Stoke, whipped in, of course. I think it was Ince with the cross, perhaps, and then of course Powell with a good header, strong header, put it in the back of the net. Yeah, and Kaminsky, despite all that vibe, the defeat and that early goal, I actually felt quite, what's the word? Just like flat. I didn't feel like angry. I didn't feel like passionate. I didn't feel excited. It would not have made a good watch along at all, because I just felt like I couldn't be arsed. I just felt like I'd completely, that early sucker punch. I was angry, but I thought, we got time here. We got time. We'll be all right. And then at the 45-minute mark, I just thought, we should still. We're seeing a lot of ball. We should see us getting into this game. And then as to the final 10 minutes, I still believed. I had the optimism, but I wasn't excited. There was no emotion. I felt calm. At the end of it, I was a little gutted, but to be honest with you, I was kind of semi-expecting it in the end. Stoke do that. We'll elaborate on it in a minute, but let's take a look at the rest of the match ratings. I went down a rabbit hole there. Douglas, I thought he had a good game for us today. He hasn't had many so far. He had the best chance for Rovers hitting the post midway through the first half. A little bit unlucky. If it could have curled in there, we would have been on the back of a draw. Led him with a 5. I thought he was a bit rusty again. I thought Johnson, I gave him a 7, purely because he was maybe at fault for that goal, alongside maybe Douglas as well, I think. But playing him square peg in a round hole, I thought he did okay. I thought he did okay, did a number, and he was showing his leadership abilities as well. Nyambe, again, doesn't get less than 7 in my eyes. Tribal with a 7, I thought he was probably my man of the match, if I'm honest with you. Holtby with a 5, Roth with a 6. Holtby, I thought he was when a bit, I don't know if he was in his right position, to be honest with you. I thought he was a bit quiet, not really seeing full potential for him. Rothwell, again, we didn't get to see him running and charging at Stoke as much as I wanted to, but I thought Tribal did the donkey work, the hard work, the old Richard Smallwood work very, very well today. Elliott was decent. I might be a bit harsh on him. Maybe he deserves a 7. Armstrong got himself a 5, and Gallagher with a 5 as well. So yeah, not really impressed with our forward 3 today. And the sooner the better Dacarino and Brereton come back in to not only fuel the fire for these 3 up top, but also to give these guys a break. We did see the likes of Butterworth coming on, which was a nice surprise. Also Tyree Stolen coming on as well, trying to show some options moving forward. But they are young, inexperienced players, and relying and pinning our hopes on those. We are already pinning our hopes on a 17-year-old, but then bringing on some other youngsters and pinning our hopes on them to get us out of trouble. It just shows, is it desperation or is it initiative by using our youth academy? I don't know. So my emotion roller coaster today was pretty plain sailing. There was not much to get excited about for me. I just felt flat the whole way through. I couldn't get excited for it. You know what I mean? Like the game against Rotherham, I was on the edge of my seat. I was really pumped for it, and I felt like shit the whole game because we were losing. And then, of course, the euphoria at the end of that game. Maybe that carried into this, and I was just kind of coming down off of that. But I just felt completely not really interested in this game. I couldn't get excited about it. I expected that we would get something, and then, of course, yeah, we didn't. So that kind of does hurt in the end. But I'm hoping my emotions are back, and my excitement and my belief and my optimism for Rovers comes back for Sheffield Wednesday on Boxing Day, because we need to bounce back, of course, because I want us to get us back into that discussion at the very least, because I still think we've got a shout here. It is not looking great, but we do need to start getting the results back. And again, when we have a fully fit team, maybe just maybe we can start to turn the screw and start climbing that table. I think we're 5 points off of the top 6. We'll definitely need to beat Sheffield Wednesday this coming Boxing Day, and then of course looking on to the next round of match. I think Huddersfield are not too far away. I think we've got Stoke as well on the horizon again. But anyway, regardless of all that, take a look at some of the touches. We had 853 touches compared to their 474. We also had 673 passes compared to their 308. And as you say, we did hit the woodwork down there, the bottom left-hand side of the graphic. And as you see, the shot graph here, just a couple shots on target for Bloody. In fact, they had They had just three shots, one on target, one in the back of the net. That's how clinical it was. And we've seen that before by Bournemouth. We saw that again with Watford. And again, we played better in the Bournemouth and Watford game, and we came away with nothing. And again, we've also seen us playing really shit against Barnsley and Millwall and come away with the 3 points. And also Rotherham, again, pretty shitty. And then we dug ourselves out of that one. Meanwhile, let's take a look at some of the heat maps that we heat map. I mean, actually, this is just the tail of the tape right here. As you can see, a field of green and orange for Rovers and just sparse touches for Stoke, playing it in their own half, pretty much, and only fleeting bits of attacking nous from them. And of course, I think it came from Ince, to be honest with you, Powell, so being as creative as he can do. But ultimately, Rovers having the ball, just couldn't break them down, and of course, Stoke doing their bit. So a little bit what I've had to say. What about the fans then? What have they been saying on social media? Well, let's take a little look then, shall we? We're going to go all the way back. All the bloody way back to around about here. Adam Satsuki said this, we can't take our chances when they come our way, and teams only need one to score against us. Recurring pattern, we don't have a plan B, i.e. change our formation when A isn't working. Tough to blame Tony Murray to some degree due to injuries, but we have to be brave and take a risk tactically, he said. Meanwhile, Carl Wick said this: played shit and won last week. This week played well and lost. Football's a funny old game. Stoke were embarrassing today. 11 men behind the ball for the 7th minute. Would take our style of football over theirs any day. Meanwhile, Jordan Kingsley says this: we are awful. Can't beat anybody above us, and mid-table mediocrity beckons yet again. Squad will be picked dry in January and the summer. It bloody well will if we don't get the contract signed up. Meanwhile, Callum Axon said this: we never get playoffs, let alone promotion. We don't have the consistency nor the manager. A lot of Mowbray out today. Andy Peter said this: people have to be realistic. We are not going to win them all, even against a team higher in the league than us. Just look at what big teams are getting beat in the Premier League by lower sides. Stick with the team though, the good and the bad. Meanwhile, Modest 23 said this: I don't know how any Stoke fan could be proud of that. Embarrassment to football, he said. Lewis Hartley, though, he said, what do we expect when we're playing a team with 11 at the bloody back? He said, parking the bus since the 7th minute. Most boring team in the championship. The stats of the game is just like a bloody FIFA game, he says. Liam Dunn, though, said this: we played into the hands, soft, easy goal, and they just sat back. Our style of passing our way forward only works if the other team are willing to come forward, which they weren't. Need an alternative, and quick. Matthew, aka Absolute Matthew, said this: dominated possession isn't enough. If we piss about and do nothing with it, then we inevitably lost. Meanwhile, Lee Ryan said this: no energy. We don't press high as teams anymore. There's too many gaps for us for the teams to counter and get in behind us. Also, we need a left back in January. Clark Empire, though, says, I cried from watching this, not from us losing, but from how boring the game was. Stoke had the one good chance. They took it. We weren't able to have a good chance because they were always behind the ball. I guess we can't do it on a rainy night in Stoke. No, we can't. Jamie Meekin says, relying too much on Armstrong and Harvey up top, not seeing anything from the other players. Gallagher was shocking, and defensively we are even more shocking. Need to bring in some players, bolster the defensive side for sure. I don't think we can afford it. I think our deal is to secure the bloody deals, the contracts. Steve Reed said this: keep saying that Mowbray has took us as far as he is capable of doing. We will not get promoted under Mowbray. If we leave it too long, we'll lose players that are capable of taking us up and end up back to square one. It's time to move on. No room for sentiment in football. Jimmy Murphy said this: we deserved a point today, just didn't have that quality to break down a team well organised. Awful conditions too. We'll need to start finding a way to win against teams in the top half or the top 6. May just be a faint hope. Meanwhile, Adam Hilling said this: Stoke are dire, and yet we still aren't good enough to beat them or have a shot on target. Under Mowbray, there is no way this team will ever be good enough to challenge the top 6. Thanks for the memories, Tony, but enough's enough. And Tom and 86 says, after 20 games in the 2018-19 season, we had 29 points. Last season, we had 30 points. And this season, we have 28 points. So he's saying we are going backwards. Meanwhile, Mike Delap said there's fair few comments kicking about, claiming we should be beating an awful Stoke side. I'm absolutely delighted if we could shut up teams like that on a regular basis. It's a sign of a well-drilled, cohesive unit. Rovers asked plenty of questions. They had the right, and Stoke had the right answers. David Crossley said this: Stoke played the game perfectly, got an early lead and defended it so easily from the rest of the game. Mowbray had absolutely no answer to breaking them down, kept on playing the same game for 90 minutes and barely laid a glove on them. 68% possession, no goals and no points. Alex Corey said, oh, that's just response to something else. Yes, of course, that's what the fans have to say. You heard what I've had to say. Now, what about the gaffer? Here's Tony Mowbray with his thoughts on that match and, of course, on Stoke.
Yep, and and scoring goals hasn't really been a problem for us this year, and yet, there's some pretty crucial away games over the recent weeks, Bristol and today, that we weren't firing, and today was different to Bristol. I think at Bristol we had so many shots. I think we had 23 shots at Bristol. I think today, 15 efforts at their goal, only 3 on target. It was against a packed defence today, I think. Once they got in front, it was very, very hard to break down 5 and a 4, 4 and a 5, and they were isolating their striker. They didn't get over the halfway line for half an hour in the second half there, but we have to score, and the chances as they come along, and there wasn't clear-cut chances, but there was a few that would have been really interesting if it was 1-1 and they would have been more on the front foot and attacked. I think that's the teams that when teams attack us, we can score at the other end because it leaves a bit more space for Armstrongs and Gallaghers and Harveys. But a frustrating day for us. A lot of good positive stuff. Some young lads really doing their best to try and break down a big, strong, physical team. If you were a Blackburn fan, you would watch it. You'll be disappointed with the score, of course, as I know all the fans will be. But they must be able to see the positives of a young team that are dominating football matches in this league now, and putting the final touches to it. Really, it's we have to keep working. They're a team in progress. So, how do you score against 8, 9, 10 defenders behind the ball who are not coming out? And when are you going round them? When are you going through them? When are you hitting long shots? It's all the stuff that we work on every day with the team, and it's just frustrating that today we couldn't get past a Stoke team that have did I read 7 clean sheets in the last 8 away games or something. It's listen, there you go. Michael is a manager, a national manager who's managed Northern Ireland, in Europe for a lot of years against Germany and France and Italy and Spain, and knows how to set the team up defensively, and that helped them today. We're pretty frustrated, but there's a lot of positives that we can come away from home and feel as dominant as we are, and but it doesn't feel very good because we got no points. Listen, they're not. I would talk about Dak today. I think Dak makes a difference in games like today. I've said it for a long time, and yet he's been out a year now. It's I can't keep harping back for Dak. It's and I think this team have been pretty amazing this season at scoring some wonderful goals and playing some exciting football. Just on days like today against packed defences, Dak can make the difference really. He can stick his backside in, he can roll defenders, he can stick it through people's legs and pass it in the corner. And I'd have to say Brereton has a miss today. Brereton has been really, really good this season and dribbling with the ball in the box and shifting it from foot to foot. And it was just a frustrating day for us. And we can all talk about who's not available, but we just fell a bit short trying to score the goal today that would have got our just desserts really. I think we didn't deserve to lose that football match. In fact, we probably deserved to win it, but we didn't. Listen, I talked to the squad, the players are here, we have to get on with it. I don't want to try and make excuses. I know I do mention, because I think the players who are unavailable need to know that we are missing them, and we